Next on stage, we've got the head of FinTech at Deloitte Digital, a woman whose knowledge of the FinTech ecosystem is unrivaled. She sits on the board of Deloitte's EMEA FinTech Accelerator and champions those FinTech startups who are already making a difference. She's been quoted as saying the development of financial technology has opened up the opportunity for disintermediation and transformation of traditional financial institutions. Please welcome to the stage, Louise Brett.
Thank you, Katie, and welcome all. Good morning to you. I'm delighted to be here to talk about a level slightly higher, as in the global FinTech hubs and their relationship to each other and also to the Federation. Taking a look around the summit today, there is no denying that FinTech is a truly global phenomenon. An initiative such as the Global FinTech Hub Federation that connects FinTech globally has a very important role to play. Picking up the earlier comments by James O'Riordan about how FinTech can play an altruistic and a pervasive role in society at large, advancing society, I notice a few things. The disruption of exponential technologies, not just the digital technologies of artificial intelligence or blockchain or robotics, but also the social technologies applied to platform-based business models and the use of the crowd and the power of that crowd. I also notice an increasingly connected global world that is absolutely, particularly in the millennials, embracing the sharing economy. And the certain fact that this overwhelming pace of change, as sometimes it can seem, as we stand in a building that's had its system here for over 750 years, there is one certainty, that this pace of change is the slowest now it will ever be. And amidst all this, at this premier global summit, with the lifeblood of the FinTech ecosystem in our midst today, I ask, what is our role and how best can we play it? If this new era is the digital era and the digital stage, then innovation is the act upon that stage. What role for the FinTech hubs as the new innovators behind the innovations? The Global FinTech Hub Federation was established last year to encourage collaboration and knowledge sharing to foster innovation. At Deloitte, we are proud to have been partners to the GFHF since its launch at Sibos last year, where we helped the Federation publish its first Global FinTech report. This was the first of its kind to profile a cross-section of both established and emerging FinTech hubs around the world. Over the last 6 months, the number of participants in the Federation has more than doubled, and the membership list continues to grow, 2 very recent additions not making this interim report we're publishing today. So this special interim report that was asked to be published to reflect the growth and profile, the initial report had 21 FinTech hubs. This one now has 44. We are featuring the new FinTech hubs prominently in this report at this conference. So that is the opening page for the FinTech Hub report and brings out both the new and the old hubs. On this, we can see the deal value from those hubs. And what's interesting to see is that all the countries represented by FinTech hubs on this map accounted for 17.3 billion of the 17.4 billion of FinTech deals this last year. It gives us some comfort that the current Global FinTech Hub Federation membership is covering the most significant action in the market. And with the pipeline of FinTech Hub Federation participants expected to grow, we can only assume that this global size of business will expand exponentially. When we launched the report back in September, and arguably even now, there were no global FinTech measures that aspired to profile and benchmark the different FinTech hubs globally. As such, we saw an opportunity and an appetite to recognize and measure the strength of various FinTech hubs around the world, recognizing this would need to be an iterative process as more data and insight became available. Certainly, as the FinTech industry evolves, our understanding of how to most appropriately measure and track will also evolve. In our first report, we set out to provide a snapshot of how different FinTech hubs were ranking based on published indices and self-assessment surveys undertaken with each hub. In this interim report, we kept the same methodology to showcase the new hubs, but also added additional reference data on investments and regulatory developments. For the next full report, being launched at Sibos in the autumn, we will include a suite of indices and data points that add further depth and robustness to this research. Clearly, a static, periodically produced report will not sufficiently reflect the energy, dynamism, and innovation of both the established and the emerging FinTech hubs. Because of this, our ambition is that we will eventually move towards a real-time flow of information on the key FinTech hubs and their movements across the globe. So what have we seen in our report? Since the FCA opened its regulatory sandbox in May last year, yes, not even 12 months ago, across the globe, a number of regulators have followed suit to set up and launch sandbox-equivalent regimes. We have noted that, in particular, the pace of change from regulators, notably across Asia, has been extremely encouraging and could be said to be outpacing European regulation on the whole. For example, of the 16 regulators who have either set up or have committed to set up regulatory sandboxes, 7 are in Asia. In particular, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Taiwan, which are all new additions to this report, and relatively new FinTech hubs have all adopted a regulatory sandbox regime. In contrast, only 2 hubs in Europe have set up a sandbox, and 3 others are committed to do so. That said, if the European Commission's FinTech task force does settle on an EU-wide regulatory sandbox environment, or indeed a license, this could shift the dial for FinTechs across Europe. As many of you will know, they are in the process of public consultation on this point as we speak. It is interesting to note, especially given the panel discussion we're about to have, that although the UAE has only recently appeared on the FinTech map, Abu Dhabi already has a live sandbox environment, which I'm sure Richard Teng will tell us more about. And Dubai, one of the very recent members to the Federation who didn't make the cut of the interim report, has also committed to a sandbox regime. Since the FCA and Australia's ACIC signed a FinTech cooperation agreement last March to enable the sharing of information about financial services innovation and also regulatory issues, we have seen 15 other cooperation agreements being signed by regulators globally. In particular, Singapore's MAS has been extremely proactive and have signed agreements with 8 other regulators across Europe, Asia-Pacific, and the Middle East. Closely behind, here in the UK, the FCA has signed cooperation agreements with 7 regulators, including Singapore's MAS. And in this same period, the next most active regulator has been Australia. Of course, collaboration and agreements between regulators shows only one aspect of international collaboration. Development agencies, FinTech associations, and other bodies have also signed similar agreements, all with the ambition of improving connectedness and innovation globally. Turning now to look at talent. Talent continues to be a very hot topic when we speak to the FinTech hubs globally. Be it access to talent, global movement, visa challenges with new political regimes, being something I'm sure our panelists will comment on later. Retention of talent, changing cost of living, an issue in a number of hubs, or the longer-term development of talent. Some of the hubs are very clear they do not have enough talent for their FinTech ecosystems. Others, it's one of their prize assets. So we need to ask ourselves, what are our children learning in school? Are the further education courses fit for purpose? There are many new developments in this area, and only last month, MAS announced a partnership with 5 polytechnics in Singapore so that the graduates fresh out of university will have the required skills to land jobs in the fintech world. All of these themes and more are commented upon on the interim report that we are launching today at the end of this session. And it will be available to download from a push to your apps if you've downloaded your app. However, without giving away too much, we're very excited about the full report that will be launched later in the year, where we plan to get right under the headlines and really understand the shifts and trends and the conditions for success and the value of collaborating on a global stage. In the meantime, though, we can explore some of these areas in greater detail by hearing directly from the FinTech hubs themselves.